All right, everybody, get ready because we are launching into a deep dive that's truly out of this world. Well, kind of.
Mhm.
Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of satellite imagery and how it's transforming something as down to earth as agriculture.
Yeah, it's amazing to think about.
We're talking about using high-tech eyes in the sky to help farmers make decisions on the ground. And trust me, the possibilities are blowing my mind, and I think they'll blow yours too. For this deep dive, we're taking a look at this really cool article from Pharmanaut called Unveiling Earth's Secrets. And believe me, these secrets are seriously cool. So get this. Satellites in space can actually help us grow food better here on Earth.
It's mind-blowing when you really think about it. I mean, we used to think of satellites as, well, tools for governments and spies,
Right.
but now they're giving farmers incredible insights down to the level of individual plants.
And this article blew me away with all the different ways these satellites are seeing our farms. It's not just like regular pictures either. We're having infrared, visible light, even water vapor. It's like giving farmers superpowers.
It's really all about tapping into all the different types of information that's carried by electromagnetic radiation. You see, our eyes, they can only see a tiny, tiny sliver of the entire electromagnetic spectrum. But these satellites, they have sensors that can detect a much, much wider range, and that reveals all kinds of useful stuff.
Okay, so I got to be honest, you lost me a bit with the electromagnetic stuff. Can you give me an example of how this actually helps a farmer out in the field?
Okay, imagine this. You're a farmer, and it's the middle of summer, it's scorching hot out, and your crops are starting to feel the stress. Now, with infrared imagery, which detects heat signatures, you might actually be able to see which parts of your field are struggling even before any visible signs even show up.
Oh, wow.
That early warning, that could be make or break.
Yeah, it's like a heads up that something's wrong before it becomes a five-alarm fire.
Yeah.
I can definitely see how valuable that would be for a farmer. But what about the visible light pictures? Those are basically just like Google Maps for farms, right?
Yeah, in a way, you could say that. But don't underestimate the power of a good old-fashioned aerial view. With visible light imagery, farmers can monitor the overall growth and development of their crops. They can see if one area of the field is lagging behind, or maybe identify patches that might need more water or fertilizer. It's all about precision, really.
Okay, so we've got infrared for spotting those hidden problems, and then visible light for keeping an eye on overall growth. That leaves us with water vapor. Water vapor, that sounds like we're getting really high tech now. What's the deal with water vapor imagery?
Well, it all comes back to understanding how everything on our planet is connected, even to space. We tend to think of space as this completely separate thing, but our atmosphere, it's constantly interacting with space, and water vapor imagery lets us visualize how moisture is moving through the atmosphere.
So is that important for like weather forecasting?
Exactly. But we're not talking about those, your generic weather reports. By
Mhm.
combining water vapor data with those other types of satellite imagery, we're talking about incredibly localized forecasts, like sometimes down to a single farm.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Imagine knowing exactly when to expect a downpour or a dry spell right there on your fields.
That's incredible. It's like having a personal weather forecaster, up in orbit, working just for you. But here's where it gets really interesting to me. Gathering all this data, that's one thing, but the real magic is using it to actually make decisions.
Yeah.
And that's where Pharmanaut comes in,
Oh,
right?
yeah, definitely.
This article talks about their AI system that analyzes all this data and gives farmers personalized advice.
Exactly. They're taking all those different layers of information. We're talking infrared, visible light, water vapor, and
Yeah.
feeding it all into this AI system that they've named Jeevin.
Jeevin. It sounds so friendly for AI.
Yeah.
It's like having a super-powered farming assistant, all thanks to satellites. So what kind of advice does this Jeevin AI actually give to farmers?
Okay, so imagine getting an alert on your phone that says something like, hey, that section of your cornfield over in the southeast corner, it's showing some signs of stress. You might want to, check the irrigation there.
Wow.
That's the kind of personalized insight that Javen can provide.
That's amazing. It's like a crystal ball for your farm, but instead of magic, it's science and satellites. Does it do anything else?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Javen also analyzes historical data, so, looking at long-term weather patterns to help farmers make those really big decisions, like what to plant and when to plant it, and even predict potential problems down the line.
So, what does this all mean in the grand scheme of things? Are we talking like increased efficiency, less waste, ultimately more food on our tables?
Yeah, you got it. And it's not just about making farming a little bit easier, this has the potential to tackle some really big challenges. food security, climate change, creating a more sustainable future. It's about using technology to work with nature instead of against it.
This is seriously mind-blowing stuff. We're talking about tech that could change how we feed the world. And speaking of changing the world, what's next? What's coming down the pipeline for satellite imagery and agriculture? What's the next big thing?
Oh, the future is incredibly exciting. One thing that's developing rapidly is higher resolution imagery.
So even more detailed than what we have now.
Exactly. I'm talking about satellites that can zoom in on individual plants.
Wow.
That means we get an even more precise understanding of crop health. We can make even more targeted interventions.
That's incredible. That was like, what, going from a magnifying glass to a microscope to look at a leaf?
It's just a great way to put it, and it doesn't even stop there. We also have hyperspectral imaging. Now, this is a whole new level.
Oh, wow.
This analyzes way more wavelengths of light than just infrared.
Right.
So we're talking about even more detailed information about plant health, even soil composition. We're talking about detecting specific diseases.
This is sounding like something straight out of Star Trek. So we could be identifying problems before we could even see them with our own eyes.
Exactly.
What kind of impact could that have on, well, on everything?
The possibilities are mind-blowing, honestly. Imagine being able to predict, maybe even prevent famines, because we can identify regions that are at risk of crop failure before it even happens.
Yeah.
Or imagine farmers getting real-time alerts about plant diseases spreading so they can take action immediately.
It's like a global immune system for our food.
That's a great way to put it. And it's not just reacting to problems. We could be proactively building a food system that's more resilient, more sustainable.
It sounds like we're on the verge of like a paradigm shift in agriculture.
I think so. And honestly, the most exciting part for me is that we are just scratching the surface here.
Really?
AI is getting better and better, which means its ability to look at this massive amount of satellite data, to interpret it, is only going to get more sophisticated. So who knows what kind of applications we might see in the future.
So like you said before, we're connecting space to what we eat in ways we never thought possible.
Exactly. And I think understanding that interconnectedness, realizing that everything on Earth is part of this delicate balance, that's going to be key to solving some of the biggest challenges we face today.
So today we learned that satellite imagery isn't just for, spying on people anymore. It's revolutionizing how we grow our food. We talked about infrared, visible light, even water vapor imagery. And with AI like Pharmanaut's Jeevin stepping in to help us understand all that data, the future of farming is looking pretty bright. And seriously high tech. That's it for our deep dive today. But remember, the conversation doesn't have to stop here. We want to hear from you. What other amazing applications of satellite technology are out there? Let us know. Maybe your idea will spark the next agricultural revolution.